So you are considering making a move, purchasing a home in Florida. Maybe you already live here, maybe you're moving in from out of state. But you're asking yourself, what about new construction? Should I consider a new home built by a builder? And why wouldn't you want to? I mean, who wants to buy a home from a seller, move into it, and then gut the kitchen, redo the flooring? How long is all that gonna take? And when do those projects ever get finished on time and under budget? Probably never. Well, before we go walking into the model home, there's 5 lies that you're going to probably hear or see when dealing with new construction. The first one, and this is a big one, is the price. So here you go online and you're looking at the whatever model home, meaning the name of the home, and you see the price there. And you say to yourself, that's not bad. So you go walking into the model home. Only then do you find out that that's not actually the price. No, that is the price for the building. That's it. We don't have any land and we don't have any upgrades. So you have to add the lot premiums, which lot premiums are all over the place. So I can't tell you on a video how much to expect for that. What I can tell you though, is once you add the model, the price for that model, and the lot premium, depending on the builder, you can add an extra 20 to 30% on top of that for upgrades and options. So in fact, here's how it works with a semi-custom or a custom builder. You go in, you pick the model, you pick the lot. At that point, you then have to pick the structural upgrades. So these are things that require permits. If you want to add a bedroom, if you want to add let's say it has a 2-car garage, you want to make it a 3-car, or you want to make a 3-car or 4-car, you want to build, whatever it is, if it requires permits, meaning you're not choosing the color flooring, you're not choosing like the color countertops, because the permitting doesn't care about that. They just want to know that you have a bathroom there. They don't really care what the countertops are. But anyway, so you pick all that stuff. So when you sign the contract, that's when you find out how much it's going to be. But even then, you really don't know, because now the next thing is you go to the design studio. It's fun for about 20 minutes, and then after that, it gets kind of tedious. So here you are, you're usually sitting with a design consultant, and you're picking your options and all your different things. Well, in my experience, and it can vary, but in my experience, you can pretty much assume you're gonna add about 20 to 30% to the lot and whatever you're paying for the lot, and add the model to it, then add 20 to 30% on top of that. That doesn't get you any structural upgrades. We're not talking about adding a swimming pool or adding an extra car garage. I'm just talking about flooring, the kitchen, the bathrooms. In theory, you can definitely get it. You go with the base price and the lot premium, and that's it. But in 10 years of doing this and hundreds of home sales, I can't remember the last person who actually did that. The only way around that might be if you're building with one of the large tract builders, meaning you don't get any choice in your upgrades, and that may be fine for you. Some people love that, actually. So in that case, you go in and it's usually package A, B, or every single house in the entire community has the exact same style flooring and the exact same style countertops. In which case, then you actually will know when you sign the contract what that home is going to cost you. The only real variable is the lot premium. But that's the first big lie you're gonna hear, is the price. It's really up in the air until after you've signed the contract, and then after you've gone to the design studio. Okay, so lie number 2. This one, I have literally caught sales agents lying to my face on numerous occasions, which, by the way, my name is Andrew Michael. I'm a real estate agent and team leader here in beautiful Northeast Florida. That means the Jacksonville metro area. So Jacksonville, St. Augustine, Amelia Island, those types of places. And we get calls every day from people looking to relocate to our area. Give us calls, shoot us a text, whatever works best for you. We absolutely love it. So if you need help with either new construction, resales, or selling a house here locally, we've got your back, and you can just call or text the number below. But moving on, so the next lie that I hear from site agents all the time when we're working with our buyers is when they tell us what is going to back up to that lot. Let me read you a newspaper article. It's not from here in this particular area, but it is from Florida, and I've seen similar things happen. Okay, I'm going to change the names of the victims, and I'm not going to say the name of the defendant because I don't feel like getting sued. But here we go. The buyer and her husband, are one of the newest neighbors at Babcock Ranch. They moved in just last month. They gathered outside of their home with about 10 neighbors to share their feelings of shock. They said the sales representative for the builder told them that their backyard would stretch from their homes to the man-made lake. She walked us down to the back of the property, to the edge of the water, and said, "All of this is yours. We will never put anything on it." It should have been about 75 feet, according to their personal tape measure. They said that the promise was made before they moved in, but that it wasn't in writing. Instead, their yards were only 15 feet long. They said the first time they saw the dimensions for the land they owned was when they received their surveys in the mail outlining that they only owned, blank. So basically, after the closing, the builder mailed them their survey, and that's when they found out. So could you imagine? It's time to sign a contract. You go to the house. In this particular builder, the house is probably built or at least already started before it hits the market, and you can even actually buy it. And so they are in our market too. But anyway, so you go back there and you've got 75 feet approximately from the back of your house to your property line. That's a pretty good sized backyard, especially in my area in these communities. But then you fork over the money, you sign the contracts, you do the closing, and then you find out your backyard is actually 15 feet. What are you going to do with a 15-foot backyard? Now, if you're coming here from like New York City or something and you're not used to having a backyard, 15 feet may be perfect. It's just enough space for Fluffy to go out and do her business and come back in the house. No problem. And if that's what you want, that's great. But if you're told you're buying 75 feet of backyard and you actually get 15 feet, so you're missing 60 feet, could you imagine going through that? And the answer is, I've never had my buyers fall flat, but I have absolutely seen stuff like that happen. I was recently showing homes, same builder actually, and we asked, it was kind of confusing, the backyard, kind of a situation like this, so I asked the site agent, like, can we see a survey, please? She told me they didn't have one. Now, I know that that's BS, because there is no way the county is going to let you build a home on what used to be vacant land if they don't see a survey, a plot, map, something to show the easements, how big the property is, all that kind of great stuff. So when she told me she didn't have it, I told her, I said, well, you can produce it, or we're going to leave and go to the next builder. All of a sudden, she magically pulled it out of a file. Now, they didn't end up buying that house for other reasons, and that didn't make a good impression on them when they saw her lying point blank to her face. But that was one time. Another time, and this has nothing to do with the size. So anyway, long story short, definitely look at a survey, and if they tell you they don't have one, they're lying. They have one. Number two, another thing with that too, I've been lied to personally, and I've had this happen twice. One time in particular, so here I am with a young couple. You know, he's a sergeant in the Marines, just got out, which, by the way, Semper Fidelis to all my fellow Marines out there. But here we are, we're meeting with the site agent. We're actually behind the home, and we're looking at this beautiful pine forest. It's really nice. And the site agent says that this back here is preserve. No, it wasn't. I went and I checked with the county just before they signed the dotted line, and it turns out that about 10 to 15 feet, I can't remember now, it's a few years back, but about 10 to 15 feet back, that absolutely was preserve. Everything beyond that was a timber forest owned by a local Baptist church, which means best case scenario, well, actually, I don't know. So that means whoever buys that house, which no, my buyers did not, they're gonna have a 10-foot buffer. I'm sorry, 10 feet of a pine forest is not a preserve. You can see right through it. But a 10-foot, 15-foot buffer. After that, that forest is gonna be demolished, and one day they're gonna be looking at a mega church. They're gonna be looking at a commercial structure. Maybe the church sells it to somebody else or leases it or whatnot. There's no telling what's gonna go back there, but what is for sure is that whoever buys that house, and by the way, they wanted a lot premium upgrade for that too, for that beautiful view that we were looking at that you're not going to keep. At some point, whoever buys that home or whoever bought that home is going to be looking at a church or some other type of commercial structure. I had another one in a community right off of 210, meaning in St. Johns County, and the builder told us the same thing. He goes, yes, this house backs up the preserve. And again, it's a very nice looking pine forest. When I checked, that wasn't true, and it wasn't even close. Again, there was a 15 to 20 foot buffer. After that was more woods. And by the way, none of this, there's no survey markers, there's no signs, there's no anything. So imagine you're just looking at the woods and there's no difference whatsoever from the naked eye. That's what we were looking at. But when I checked with the county, what I found out was about 15 to 20 foot was preserved and it will probably never be built on. Beyond that, had a different owner, and that property had already been cleared for multifamily housing. So whoever bought that house in a few years, or maybe sooner, they're going to be looking at apartments, townhouses, condos, whatever it is that's going there. And I didn't do any more research after that because at that point my buyer, one, they were upset that they got lied to by the site agent, and two, they didn't want to pay extra so they can have the privilege of looking at somebody else's townhouses or something. So we were off looking at more homes at that point. Lie number 3. New construction homes are built with superior building products to resales or older homes. Well, that certainly isn't true. A lot of the older homes in our community are built with concrete block or real brick. And when I say real brick, I don't mean face brick. I didn't even know that was a thing until I became a realtor, but you can actually, some homes that you drive by and they look like they're brick, they're not. It's about like, the brick is about an inch thick and it's what it sounds like. It's just face brick and it sits on top of, you know, whatever they have behind it. It's not a real brick home. So new construction homes, it depends on when the resale was built. So let me rephrase that. It may be built with better materials, but that's not a given. So for a while, for instance, in our area of, you know, again, the Jacksonville metro area, homes were commonly, we call them stick built. So it's got a 2x4, meaning it's the 2x4 obviously comes 2 inches off the slab and 4 inches wide. Within those 4 inches, they usually put a wrap on the exterior, meaning like a plastic wrap, kind of like when you wrap your kids' food or snacks or something, put it in their bag. It's the same thing. It's like a wrap that goes around it, and then they put stucco over top of it. So if you bought a home that was built in that time period, the problem with that was with the wood frame and it shifting and then the cracking and the stucco and water getting into it causing major damage. I believe there were so many lawsuits from that the builders got away from that, and they still do the wrap. Some of them do 2x4s, some of them do 2x6. So in other words, you have 6 inches of a gap between your interior and your exterior wall, and hopefully 6 inches of solid insulation between those two. And then they put the wrap, and then they do hardy board on top of that, or they use the green zip board, and then they put hardy board over that. Now, hardy board looks like a wood pink, but it's actually not. It's a concrete product. So, and that goes over top. So in the world of building materials, and by the way, I am not a general contractor, you do not want me to build your home, meaning like to actually physically go out there and do it. There's plenty of better people for that, but I'm around it a lot. And what I can tell you is if the older homes are poured concrete block, that's going to be superior building materials than what they're building with now. On the other hand, some of the homes built in, let's say, I don't know, 2014-ish, 2010, you know, thereabouts, you know, then they're going to have the wrap with the stucco over it. So the new builds may be, depending on the builder and where you are, may be superior to those. So the lie that, so it is a lie when they make a blanket statement that new construction homes are always built with better materials than older homes. Another thing that surprises a lot of people too is that luxury builders or high-end builders don't always build with better materials than some of the more economical lines. In fact, a lot of times you'll see the same subcontractors, meaning the same people actually pouring the slab or putting up the paneling or whatever it is. You'll see the same company there for the lower priced home as you see the higher priced. So the fact that you're buying a home that's say north of $1 million doesn't necessarily guarantee that you're getting better building materials than if you purchased a lower, let's say not lower end, but less expensive home. Okay, so with that being said, let's take a look at a quick video here from one of our local home inspectors.
So you were right, this was, check this one out. So this right here is right on the edge of the roof. That's the inside of the house showing right there. That wood, that's OSB, and they painted over it. They didn't even wrap it. That's a wild.
So what you're looking at there was, now he was doing and by the way, he's one of our trusted home inspectors, but he was doing an inspection on a new construction home. I'm not going to say where or who the builder is, but you can rest assured that home sold for over $1 million. Without even knowing anything, I can tell you that much. And it wasn't my sale either, by the way. But what happened is they were supposed to put something on over the wrap, and they didn't. And so that's what he laid out in the screen. And which, by the way, you know, I always encourage our buyers, or we always encourage our buyers to get a home inspection. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. You're crazy in my mind if you don't get a home inspection on any home that you're buying. I don't care if it's new construction or resale. Also, the best way to do it, and yes, you have to pay for it, is to have the inspector go out and do incremental inspections as the home's being built. So for the video that you just saw, they don't know if it's just that way in that one little area, or if they took off the paneling, if it was that way throughout the entire house. You know, nobody knows, because they didn't have the inspector go there during the building process. So yes, I realize it's probably a couple $100 more, but when you're spending $500,000 on up to well over $1 million, I mean, seriously, what's $500-600? Especially when you figure what it may cost to hire an attorney to go back and sue them later. Which, speaking of lawsuits, let's talk about lie number 4. All builders use a standard contract. There we go. So most of the large builders, especially in our area, they have their own proprietary contract. Now, I am not an attorney. I am not giving legal advice. But I have heard attorneys talking to my clients enough times over the last 10 years, I already know what they're gonna say. Those contracts are not written for the buyer's benefit. They are written for the builder's benefit. And it makes it very difficult for you. So let me give you some real world examples. When COVID first started, and the COVID real estate market first started, just before that, I had a couple coming down. Actually, ironically, another Marine, only this one retiring gunnery sergeant. He came down, and he and his wife, we found him a home in Palm Coast with a big national builder. Great. Pick out the options models, you know, the lot, all that kind of great stuff. Everybody's happy. Well, we noticed for a couple of months the house wasn't being built. In fact, nothing was happening at all. And we don't expect it to happen instantly, but it sat there for a while. Well, finally the builder told us what was going on. They wanted an additional $40,000. And this is off memory a few years ago. I might be off, but it's right around there. Let's say $30,000 to $40,000, something like that. But they wanted that additional money from them. Okay, what was the builder willing to do for that money? In other words, were they upgrading the kitchen? Were they promising to, pay for the kids' college or tutoring or something? No, they weren't going to do anything any different. What they basically said is that the price of lumber had skyrocketed, which that did happen. And the contract gave them 2 years to build my buyer's home. So he had 3 options. If he wanted the home in the normal time frame of, let's say, I don't know, 5 to 8 months, or let's say 6 to 8 months, something like that, then he had to fork over the extra $40,000. Or if he didn't want to do that, then he could sign a release. They would gladly give him back his binder deposit, and then he can go out looking at houses again. Or they were going to honor the contract, because that doesn't imply something else. But they were going to make them wait the full 2 years to build the home. Now, my buyer was irate, and understandably so. But when I sat down and spoke with him, I was like, look, you don't have to move here now. You want to, but you don't have to. You're retired. You're up there in your current home. Everything is fine there. So I wouldn't take the binder deposit back, because what had also happened in that time period, real estate prices went crazy. So for me to take them out and go find them something else, they're going to pay an extra $40,000-50,000 anyway for the same exact thing. So getting your binder deposit back didn't make any sense. So what they ended up doing was telling the builder, calling their bluff. And sure enough, I don't think it took the full 2 years. I think it was 2 or 3 months shy of that. But yeah, no, they actually, I want to say it was well over 1.5 years before that house was actually built. So I think what they did is they actually waited for lumber prices to come back down, and then they started building the home. But yeah, so when it comes to the contract, you can rest assured that it is going to be written for the builder's advantage, not yours. So what can you do about that? Well, probably not much, but one thing that you can do, if you're definitely leaning towards a builder, I would recommend asking for a blank copy of the contract, and then maybe, if you're buying a home with us here in the Jacksonville area, we can put you with a local real estate attorney. You'll probably have to pay him like a 1 hour fee or something. Maybe sometimes I charge, sometimes I don't. But then you can kind of go over it with you. I can already tell you what they're going to say. It's written for the builder's interest, not yours. But if you have specific questions, they can answer them. And so yeah, but other than that, there's really not much you can do. They are not going to deviate from the contract for any reason. In fact, one time I had an interesting buyer. He's an attorney himself, bought a new construction home. So when they sent him the contract to sign in a digital signing platform, he printed it, put some lines through different parts of the contracts, and he emailed it back to them, said, here, please change this. Well, she responded back, the site agent, saying, we're not changing anything. You either sign it or you don't. It's okay, so he signed it. I asked him later what that was about, and he said it was just demonstrating, I guess he's an attorney, he just wanted to do that, but demonstrating that there was no wiggle room, there was no meeting of the minds, as he put it. It was their way or the highway. So anyway, another lie that you're going to hear is that the contract is simple and it is standardized, and it is none of those things. So number 5 on our list. Are you getting any value out of this video? Chances are, if you're on number 5, you've been watching for a while, and you probably do. Can you do me a favor? Would you mind going ahead and pushing that like button? It helps me come up in ratings. I greatly appreciate it. Number 1. And number 2, if you want to keep seeing content like this, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Our goal is 1 to 2 videos per week. It's a pretty big undertaking considering how busy we are, but we try to drop values like this, videos like this that are of value to you, the buyer. Okay, that being said, number 5. Okay, it does not always save you money to use the builder's lender. It typically does, but here's the catch. Whenever I'm having this discussion with buyers, I always use the analogy of a carnival. So here you are. The guy, the carny, has 3 cups, all upside down. He puts something under one of them, and then he starts shuffling them and moving them around, and your objective is to keep your eye on the cup that has the prize underneath. That's kind of what this is like. So, case in point. Now this varies throughout the state of Florida, but in the Northeast Florida market, so St. Johns County, Duval County, places like that, typically the owner pays the owner's title insurance. Now, how expensive is that? Let's take a $500,000 house. You're typically looking at around $2,500. So if you were to purchase a resale, chances are, now there are exceptions, like foreclosures don't typically pay for that if you're buying a home from a bank, I think. A few other instances you might end up having to pay it. But by and large, day in and day out, most homes for sale, the seller ends up paying the owner's title insurance. But in new construction, it's very rare that the builder pays for it. So they are shuffling that over to you, that $2,500 plus, it could be $3,000, could be more. They're assigning that over to you, but then if you use the buyer's lender, they're graciously agreeing to pay that for you. Well, had you bought a resale, the seller would have paid it anyway. So in my mind, they're not really paying it for you, even though technically on paper they are. The other thing is, and this is not always true. In fact, in this market, it can vary and things change all the time. I don't want to get into specifics because by the time this video gets posted, things could have changed again. Sometimes they actually do pay your closing costs though. But sometimes, usually right now we're in a higher, interest rates have come down, but we're still in a higher interest rate environment than we're used to seeing. So there are some builders here who do offer lower, to lower the interest rate. So if you purchase a resale as opposed to new construction, if you go with the new construction, then you will have a lower interest rate than if you purchased a resale. That's true the second, may not be true by the time you're watching this video. But typically, before the high interest rates came out, what would happen is, like in my case, for instance, my wife and I, we were pre-approved for the lender, looking at homes, great. We ended up going new construction. The builder offered to pay a portion of our closing costs if we used their lender. But there's a catch. The interest rate was a smidgen higher. Now, I'm sorry, I'm a math guy. I like doing math. So not like, well, anyway. When it comes to real estate and investing, I like doing math. Let me put it that way. So what I did was I figured it out and said, okay, on our 30-year VA loan, which is what we bought our house with, it will cost us X amount of dollars per month more to take the builder's money. And what I figured it out was we would have to have the mortgage for like 10 to 15 years before, like I said, it wasn't much more, but that would have had to have happened before it would have been better for us to pay the closing costs ourselves and use the outside lender. And it turned out we were right, because what would happen a few years later, the interest rates would go super low. So I think we were like right around a 4. I don't remember what the builder's lender was, but then when we refied it a few years later, we went from a 30-year VA at like 4.2 down to a 15-year conventional at 2.75. So anyway, so I was right. We didn't end up having the mortgage for that long a time period, so it actually worked out to our advantage. And I can tell you too, in Florida, nobody lives in the same house for 30 years. Almost nobody. It is super rare. If you're the one person, that's cool, congrats. But it's not typical here, especially for people relocating the state. And you're definitely not going to keep the same mortgage that long. You're going to pay it off early. You're going to refi it. You're going to do something. So again, this is just a math equation. You just kind of have to look at it and say, is it better for you to take the builder's lender or is it not? The other thing is, in theory, the builders claim that their lender makes it a streamlined process. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it makes it hell. It just depends. And I don't want to say builders' names on here because, again, I don't really feel like going out to my mailbox and getting served. But, and if we talk in person or you talk to a member of our team, we'll kind of let you know. So, like when working with our buyers and they're going to use the builder's lender, that's fine, but I kind of let them know to buckle up. Meaning it's not going to be a smooth ride, so wear your seatbelt. The worst one of those I had, which was a new construction with my buyers, a young couple, purchasing a home, and we were supposed to close at like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, something like that. So we're on our way to the closing, and actually no, we're on our way to lunch. We're gonna have lunch together, then we were gonna go to the closing. Well, the lender's still asking for documents from my buyer, which is actually kind of a problem because he worked for the school board, and of course, it was actually, it was New Year's Eve. It was New Year's Eve. So not New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. And we had lunch, we were supposed to go to the closing. They're still looking for documents. I was literally with them in the title office for that builder until about 8 o'clock at night on New Year's Eve. That was the worst closing I've had with a buyer's lender. So there you go. These are the 5 lies that you can expect to hear when you're dealing with new construction. Did you find this video useful? I hope you did. Again, do me a favor, give me a thumbs up if you want to keep seeing these things, subscribe to the channel. And last but not least, if you're looking to make a smooth transition, whether you already live here in Northeast Florida, or you want to relocate your family here from somewhere else, we're definitely here to help, and we can make it a total concierge process, whether it's new construction, or resales, or you purchase a lot and build a custom home, which is different than what I just laid out here on this video. Thanks a lot. My name is Andrew Michael. I appreciate your time, and I look forward to meeting you in person. Take care.